Hey, what's up, guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. So back in September, everyone was talking about what's going to happen in September, and there wasn't anything that seemed to be significant. But during the Pope's trip to America, we saw him bless pretty much this 2030 agenda, and we've been talking about it a little bit on this channel, but I want to bring some more attention to it because I think people are unaware of the significance of this 2030 agenda and what sorts of plans are in place for this sustainable development goal. Now, here's the website for sustainable development, and you can go here. I'll link to it. You can see all of the goals here. It's in a much more organized platform where you can, end poverty and hunger, ensure healthy lives, promote well-being, etc., etc. And there's all this wonderful stuff that they're planning to do. And of course, we have to be inhumane to go against such lofty goals of, driving peace and creating a world that is better and healthier and all this stuff, right? Well, at what cost? That's one of the questions I posed in some of my videos about 2030. And I think the methodology is laid out on this website and elsewhere. Now, to start off, if we go to goal number 16, it says, promote peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, provide access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions at all levels. And if you click on it, it'll open up a list of targets and, like sub goals, if you will. And again, as you go through the list, it's like, how can you be against this? But there's a couple here that really stood out. First off, 16.8 says this: broaden and strengthen the participation of developing countries in the institutions of global governance. So it's obvious now. They want global governance, period. And they don't think that we can achieve any kind of sustainable peace on Earth without global governance. But if you look at governance, more government means more corruption. We've seen that over and over and over again, yet they keep pressing on this idea of global governance. But number 16.9 is even more disturbing. By 2030, provide legal identity for all, including birth registration. And while it doesn't sound that scary or that nefarious, the reality is this is really a huge platform or a very gentle way of saying we are going to be tracking you in a way that is very invasive. Now, if you go to findbiometrics.com, and what this is a leading industry resource for all information on biometric identification and identity verification systems and solutions. And they claim that they have daily news reports from global biometric and identity management business communities and a comprehensive vendor list. And it's just a hub for this topic of biometrics. And they're very much in step with global governance, with the World Bank, with the whole UN 2030 system, okay? So when we go look at some of these articles, it becomes pretty obvious what's going on. Now, back in April 29th, 2014, there was an article that came out on this biometrics website. Morpho teams up with Intigen X, markets rapid DNA identification. It says here, operating on FBI-approved chemistry, Rapid Hit is a solution that can generate DNA profiles based on submitted reference samples. It has applications in lab settings and on all ends of crime scene investigations. And basically, this is going to be a platform where your layman or, any sort of law enforcement will be able to access a large DNA database very easily, very quickly. And on that front, just recently, October 13th, 2015, so about a month ago, Rapid Hit DNA identification, a hit with UK police. So now it's been implemented, and it says here, Intigen X is celebrating a new milestone in the use of its Rapid Hit DNA matching system. UK police have used it on their 500th arrestee, the company has announced. And it's kind of misleading, at the very top there, because the last paragraph here says, while it's worth noting that the system only provided 17 matches with the NDNAD, which is the national DNA database of the 500 arrestees identified, it's evidently worth the cost of the system simply to get to those results much faster than traditional systems. So it's about speed. You know, if you watch like old CSI episodes, they're like, oh, it takes at least 3 weeks to figure out what's going on with the DNA. Well, now they got a whole database. As long as they have your DNA or someone's DNA in that database, they can access it. And the goal here, going back to the whole sustainable development goal here, by 2030, provide legal identity for all, including birth registration. This is part of that system here. They want to create a DNA database. And somewhat similar to Minority Report, if they have your DNA in the system and you commit a crime or you're about to commit a crime, or the next step to this, which is basically biometric identification or biometric tracking, even neuro tracking, which, you know, is the next step here, where they are reading your brain and they sense that you will commit a crime because your brain waves are doing a certain thing or whatever. Well, they can arrest you. And guess what? Global peace, right? Because crime rates have gone way down. Now, to show that this is just the tip of the iceberg here, back in May 19th, 2015, UN agency selects Accenture for Refugee Biometrics Project. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, the UNHCR, is moving forward with its plans to use biometric technology to identify and track refugees and has selected a vendor for the project. Accenture, an international technology service provider, has won out in the competitive tendering process and will oversee the implementation of the technology in a 3-year contract. Now, here's where it gets a little nuts, okay? The UNHCR will use Accenture's biometric identity management system for the endeavor. BIMs can be used to collect facial, iris, and fingerprint biometric data and will also be used to provide many refugees with their only form of official documentation. The system will work in conjunction with Accenture's Unique Identity Service Platform, or UISP, to send this information back to a central database in Geneva, Switzerland. What's in Geneva, everyone? Everyone together said CERN, the Large Hadron Collider, allowing UNHCR offices all over the world to effectively coordinate with the central UNHCR authority in tracking refugees. This is very interesting. So basically, the database that is at CERN, you know, Geneva, is going to be a central hub for this identification system. And man, I mean, okay, my imagination goes a little wild here. This is obviously just my imagination, right? I mean, obviously, we've been talking about CERN. You've heard Anthony Patch talk about the connection with Saturn and these trapped demons in Saturn, right? And if they're released or whatever, what's the possibility of these refugees being the host bodies of these demonic entities that would come through some sort of dimensional portal from Saturn? I mean, again, just my imagination.